All right, the axe head. Let's save before we move on and go to file. Save scene as. I had some other files in here that I had already saved. So we'll see if we can get to this right here. And then I go find it. Axe, and then scenes, and then axe. You want to put your name on it, so you know. It'd be your last name, first name, and then you can call it midterm or axe, whichever. It's fine. Just let me know what it is and who you are that's turning it in, so I don't get confused with somebody else's. Now, the axe head here, it's weird because I can't tell if it's a square or if it's a cylinder. It looks like it's a cylinder that goes into a square, is what it's supposed to be. Just make it one or the other. Don't make it both. It's kind of weird that it's kind of both. Not impossible. Obviously, we make stuff like that all the time, but I'll make it a cylinder. Kind of keep the cylindrical theme for the shaft. And now it's a little bit taller, so let's go with 2.5. 2.5. I don't know if it's too much. Maybe 2.4 or something. 2.35. It's better. 2.33. Okay. And then we're going to change the radius. The radius on the shaft down below, the counterweight down below was 0.37. So we'll keep it the same, and that looks like it's pretty good. It might need to be a little bit bigger, so we can go 0.38. 0.38. Whoa, that's not 0.3. It's I typed in 3.8. 0.38. That looks pretty good. Okay. The divisions on this, there's 20, and probably don't need that many. I'm going to not reduce it very much, only down to like 16 like I did with the main shaft, because I want to keep this kind of narrow for the various parts I'm going to put on there. Now, we can add in that groove again. We're going to add subdivisions onto the cap, so add in 2 there so that we can get that control edge. You could just bevel it. That'd probably be the faster way of doing it in this case. Sometimes using bevel is faster, sometimes using the insert edge loop tool is faster to add on these sorts of details and stuff and make things sharper and all that. It looks like it's still a bit too narrow. Let's go with 0.39. 0.39. Should be a little bit top heavy, right? Because you're swinging that axe around. Axes, fun fact, axes were easier to make in the Middle Ages than swords. They're easier to make today. So people were more likely to use an axe. It was cheaper and easier because it didn't require as much metal, right? So now let's see if this works. Hey, it works now. Holding shift, click and drag on that square, and it will bring that in a little bit. And then you can always bevel it. So just go to your select all. We're going to select all 4 of these, and we don't want to bevel these down here because we set it up so that it doesn't need to be beveled. But we will bevel this right here. So bevel this. Go to my inputs, change my chamfer. I don't know, 0.3 sounds good, and then turn off the chamfer. And then this here, we can't. Let's turn on X-ray so we can see. Okay, this edge right here, and then hold Shift, double click this edge right here on both ends, and then you can press R, and you'll scale out from the green square here. Don't scale from the center in this case. Definitely don't scale from the center because you will mess up the shape of your. It'll get wider. It'll get taller. If you press 3, you can see that kind of worked. See, it rounds over too much. It doesn't round over very much down here, but it rounds over too much up here, definitely. So the reason it rounds over is because there's not a control edge on the other side. We can just set this up right here, and then go to object mode, and then press 3. That was my insert edge tool that I put that edge in with. We'll do it again down here. So the insert edge tool is right here on my shelf. It's not going to be on your standard shelf. It is underneath mesh tools if you can't find it on your shelf. So right here, and then go to object mode, and then press 3. And I want this to be, let me come over here to my, this, I want it to be narrower. I'm not liking how wide it is in my model. I'm going to bring it down here. And you can add on some control edges here, and here. Because it wasn't sharp enough. It looked too rounded, so that looks good. I like that. Looks pretty nice. And then we have a couple of rivets, right? So we can take a look at this image. The rivets, well, let's use this one here. You want to reuse your stuff. We would have technically UV'd the rivet before we duplicated it. It looks like it might be a bit bigger. We can always make it a little bit bigger. We'll just make it wider this way. And then hold Shift, click and drag that up. And we got the 2. We can now, let's move these out a little bit. Okay. Now, with these selected here, press Control D to duplicate them, press Control G to group them, and then scale them a -1 on Z, -1 on Z. -1, and see they pop over to the other side. And you have rivets on both sides to keep that axe head from slipping off, flying across the room, embedding itself in the wall, and then you don't get to use it against anybody. That's not good. You know, axes are for things, or use it against the tree that you're trying to chop down. That won't work. This this shaft of this axe would be better use some gloves, because this is going to be like splinters all over the place. Anyway, I think we're going to call it good there. Let's save, and then we'll move on to finishing the head in the next video. So I did not, let me see, save scene as. I'm going to call this axe meter 0.01. Remember typing that point and then a 0 and then a number, and you can increment and save. Save as.